Hello, everyone. Here's a rundown of movies that I've watched recently. To start out with, Death Race 2000 from 1975, directed by Roger Corman and starring David Carradine and also Sylvester Stallone. I found this to be kind of interesting. I did a separate review on it. If you want to see all the details of what I thought about it, please check out my separate review for Death Race 2000. Definitely a popcorn movie from the 70s and somewhat of its era and kind of interesting. Okay, next up, I saw in the theater Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. Kill Bill is probably, in my opinion, Quentin Tarantino's masterpiece, or it's really tough for me sometimes to decide on either it's that or Pulp Fiction. But this was my first time seeing the entire thing, with a great intermission in between at the theater, and it's quite an experience getting to see it all together with all the extra blood scenes in there. Because as we know, when it was released and split up into two parts, when you got to the original Kill Bill Part One, and you saw the showdown with all the crazy 88s. Some of it was in black and white because just the way it was censored at the time, if you will. This time you get to see all of it in color and all its bloody glory. But one thing I will say, it's a slight quibble. In the new version, well, they call it The Whole Bloody Affair, actually. In that version, you have a little bit more anime in there. I think the extra anime sequence kind of dragged it a little bit for me. I personally could do it with the shorter anime, but that's a minor quibble. The whole thing overall is absolutely fantastic, a must see, and I actually think that one day I'm going to do a full review on it. Okay, next up, I revisited a movie I saw in the theater and many times, and that's the great 1992 comedy My Cousin Vinny. Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei, Ralph Macchio. Marissa Tomei won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. I kind of knew that she would when I was in the theater. I said, I think this character itself is so cool, the way she portrays it. I know she's going to win. And she did. I find this one of the best comedies of all time. Fred Gwynne, who was, I hate to say this because he didn't like to be referred only to Herman Munster, but he played Herman Munster in The Munsters. He is really something in here. It's a shining achievement for him. I think it might have been his last role, or one of his very last roles. My Cousin Vinny. Okay, next on Blu-ray, I saw something called Devil Doll, a British film from 1963, starring Bryant Halliday and the gorgeous Yvonne Romaine. Yvonne Romaine may be one of the most perfect looking women I've ever seen in my life, in my opinion. Your mileage may vary. But anyway, it's a story about a ventriloquist who has a dummy with a soul taken from another young man. And it's the battle of the wits between the two of them, and highly recommended. Next up is the 2007 film Death Proof, which is another Quentin Tarantino movie. And I think whereas Kill Bill is one of his best, I think that Death Proof, while it has its moments, is kind of more on the lower tier, maybe the bottom of the list, close to the bottom of the list for Tarantino. It's not without its enjoyment. It originally was split in half with a double bill for a Grindhouse double feature with Robert Rodriguez. You know, he had another one called Planet Terror, and they put two of them together. This is the full version that I watched that I have on DVD, and Kurt Russell is in it. And I got to say, whenever Kurt Russell is on screen, great movie, really highly enjoyable. This is action, fun, at its peak. The story is about stuntman Mike, a retired old school stuntman who drives a death-proof car. You have to be sitting in the right seat in there in order to withstand any damage if you should get into a severe car crash. And he menaces a group of young women, and a lot of it has a lot of downtime here, a lot of dialogue that goes on and on. I think the problem with Death Proof is that we really usually enjoy Quentin Tarantino's interesting dialogue scenes, but in this one it seems forced, and it just seems like they talk about all kinds of crap that we're not interested in. The dialogue scenes in this film go on too long. Okay, next up, I went to the theater with some people to see Anaconda 2025. You can also see this video. I did a separate video review for Anaconda. Let's say it was not exactly my finest hour in a theater. It's totally unnecessary, totally needless. Looks to me like the stars just collecting a paycheck. Next up, a real treat, Song Sung Blue from 2025. I absolutely love this movie. You can see a separate review on it here, okay, which goes into more detail. But I will just say it's a wonderful story about love, success. It's about a Neil Diamond impersonator and also his wife, and they're together in a little Neil Diamond tribute group. And a lot of emotion in here, and well done. On DVD, I saw Godzilla versus Mothra from 1964, and that happens to be one of my favorite classic Godzilla films from the Showa era of the 60s. It's a great battle, and it's just one of the more serious entries, I think, before Godzilla got a little campy and silly. So it's highly recommended for anybody who wants to see a Godzilla film that's good that they haven't tried yet. Also, after that, I saw Ghidrah, the three-headed monster from 1964. That's when things start to get a little silly. You have Rodan and Mothra again in that film. It's still an enjoyable early 60s Godzilla romp and recommended. I went away to Maine to visit some family, and on their big screen TV, they put on a movie called The Wrecking Crew from this year, 2026. Don't usually like new movies too much, especially new action films that are all action and little else. But I gotta say, this was a pretty decent, like a buddy cop movie. You know, two buddies that they're basically, when I say buddy, they're actually brothers. They're estranged, and they have the same dad, and the dad is killed. He was a private investigator. They go to Hawaii to investigate dad's death. There's a lot of complex and underhanded goings on that follow. Jason Momoa, who was Aquaman in the movies, and also Dave Bautista, who was Drax from the Guardian of the Galaxy, are very good together, and they hold a lot of this together. Lots of action, and I'm surprised it worked for me. I wouldn't see it again, but it was pretty fine for a new action movie. Finally, the last movie I'm going to talk about for this particular installment is a TV movie made for TV on the ABC Movie of the Week from 1975 called Sweet Hostage. The original title was Welcome to Xanadu. It was a book. And I like this. I like it when I first saw it. I was 13 in 1975, and I liked it then. It has Linda Blair in it after The Exorcist, and Martin Sheen. They make a really good team. Martin Sheen is a really eccentric kind of off the wall kind of mental patient that isn't really that dangerous, although they say he's dangerous in the movie, but he doesn't show it. And he winds up escaping from the asylum and picking up Linda Blair, who's a tomboy, kind of cowboy-like hitchhiker. And he winds up taking her to his secluded cabin out in the wilderness that nobody knows where it is, and basically tries to make a woman out of her because she's very, a backwards type of hick, if you will, type of person. And he helps her grow and learn, and actually they have a relationship together. And it's a pretty good movie and worth seeing. I know it's on YouTube currently. I'm thinking maybe of doing a separate video of its own for this. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. Please subscribe. Please like. And I hope you'll continue to watch. And I'll have another installment with movies I've seen.